Welcome to this one. Today is the day for sleep. Who knew that we will be taking time out of the day to talk about sleep? The one thing I know about myself is when I cheat my sleep, I cheat my day. Like if I want to do nothing in that day, I try and cheat my sleep. If I sleep less than, I think for me it's 8, less than 8 hours, my body will remind me never to do that again. So my body is so rebellious that if I sleep for less than 8 hours, it has its way of kicking my butt through the day. And really, every time I do it, I feel like, why did I do that? But my husband on the other side sleeps for 4 hours and he wakes up and he's fine. And we've always had an argument whether he's sleeping enough or not sleeping enough. And then he thinks I sleep like a dead person. And we've always had that funny argument. And I'm happy to dive into this because today Jennifer will tell us what is what. Because if I try to sleep for 4 hours, I would be a walking dead person. Like there's nothing I could probably do. My body has a way of saying sleep. I wake up and my body fails to lift itself if I've tried to sleep less time. And so I don't know the psychology, but I believe that sleep somehow is important. And personally, my body communicates to me when I try to sleep less. It says, no, you can't do that. It's like screams at me, and I go, wow, okay, then it must be important that I sleep then. But there's people who probably have learned to shut off their body and they probably don't listen and they've somehow coped with sleeping less. But is it coping? Is it dying a slow death? I don't know. Like I don't understand the whole dynamics. And I wanted to bring on a sleep and wellness coach because I mean we can either guess our way through these things or we can get people who've spent their entire life learning them to tell us what they've learned, what they've discovered. And so I'm excited for Jennifer because Jennifer has done this work for, I don't know, she's lived this for as long as I know. She's done it herself. She's learned, studied it. Now she's teaching others how to do more in less time with sleep. Even saying it makes me feel awkward. If someone said to me a year ago that if you sleep more, you'll be able to be more productive and you'll be able to focus more, I would be like, you're kidding me. But now I'm saying it and it feels like, wow. So that's it. You sleep more. That helps you to do more in less time. Like, who knew? Jennifer, welcome to the show. I cannot wait to talk all things sleep. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about it too. I love talking about sleep.
What do we get wrong about sleep? Let's start there. What is the thing we do not know about sleep?
Well, you touched on it, and I wish everybody's bodies reacted the way yours do to less than optimal sleep. People would be so much healthier and just be in such better frame of mind and like you said, more focused and productive if they were getting those overt signals that their body is not getting enough sleep. But unfortunately, a lot of people, like you said, who aren't sleeping the recommended, which is 7 to 9 hours, but feel like they're functioning fine and that there's no problem. There's no issues. They think that's how their body works. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Wow.
The body needs sleep to function optimally.
Let's go there a little bit. I know you've worked with clients who sleep has changed their life. I'm just wondering though, because if we think the sleep we have is enough, and we are kind of in denial with the fact that the body needs to sleep. If you're not, your body's not like me, which really slaps you and says, go back to bed. Like my body really commands me to go back to bed. My husband meets me in the corridor and he says, Jesus, go back to bed. Because I'm like, eyes closed, drunk, and I'm like, okay, why am I up? He's like, just go back to bed. You look so weird when you don't sleep. So there's no way I probably wouldn't sleep because if I don't sleep, everyone around me says, go back to bed. Like, just go back to bed. But I just wonder if people are living in that state where they've learned to sleep for 4 hours and they think they're doing more than the usual person, what are they then coming? What is the problem people bring to you that points to sleep? Or is it like I have a problem and the doctors say I need to sleep more? Or is it something has happened and I know I need sleep? Because I don't know so many people who are going, I need to be more productive. Oh God, I need some sleep. Like they always like, I need to be more productive, so I need more hours in the day, so I need to sleep less. It's like the opposite of what you're saying. So how then do we help these entrepreneurs or leaders if they think the way to do more is to sleep less, and we think the way to do more is to sleep more? Like, how are they coming through eventually? Is it because of a diagnosis already, or I wonder if there is like classes or stages to your work.
Yes. Unfortunately, those folks who aren't getting enough sleep and don't realize it's a problem are not seeking help for sleep. So it is primarily people who realize that they have an issue, they're struggling with their sleep, and they want to fix it. And they want to get more sleep. And a lot of times it's really based on the day-to-day symptoms or way that people are feeling. So sluggish, brain fog, just not feeling their best. You're right. They're not necessarily thinking, I want to be more focused and productive. It's, I feel kind of crappy. I don't sleep well. I really need to fix this. So the trick is just trying to get the message out to those other folks to say, listen, I know you think that all is great. You're getting 4 hours of sleep and you have so much time in the day to work on your business. But in fact, that's going to bite you in the long run. It's really impacting your long-term health. And if you tried to invest more time in sleep, you might actually realize that, in fact, you are able to get more done in less time and even have that time left over for family or friends or things that you want to do, because you can really become so efficient in your business and with your time when you are well rested. So I want people to understand that it truly is an investment. It's an investment in their business, in their relationships, in their mental health, and in their physical health.
That brings me to a realization. I think your work has like 3 audiences. So the first person is, they cannot go past that anymore because they're now dragging their feet through their day. They feel they're not enjoying the day. The sleep has caught up with them, and then they're now like, okay, I need to sleep more. Like there's a level beyond which we just can't keep running and running and running. So I think that the very first beam or primary person you serve is a person who's gotten to terms with, you know what, me not sleeping is affecting me and I need to fix it. But then there's a second person who needs this work the more, who could use some preventive. So they're not sleeping, but their body hasn't started complaining yet. I would say they have more resistance to the lack of sleep. And so they can seemingly still function, but they're I would say like stages of progression. So the sleep hasn't really caught up with them yet, but it's in that phase where it's accumulating and accumulating, like the book, the body keeps score. And one day it will say, hey, you've hit 100. And then I think the third person that you serve is the person like me who needed to understand, like, why my body, like, why does it punish me so much when I don't sleep? Why is it important for me to sleep for a long time? So I think those are the 3 audiences I'm seeing. One is me. I know, like, if I don't sleep, my body is going to strike. But I didn't know why. I just thought, okay, there's no option, I have to sleep. But it is really my body has a way of slapping me in the face on the first day when I try to miss it. It does not have that tolerance for bad behavior. I eat bad food, and my body will do something and I go, geez, really? Like I will eat like a lot of butter or something really bad and my body will bring like a big pimple and put it here and I'll be like, was it that bad? And my body always says, no, go back. Or I will like spoil myself with loads of wine and my body will wake up and give me tonsillitis for a week. And I'll be like, really? And so my body just has this disciplinary action. And I look at it and go, wow. But then there is someone else who has more tolerance and then they can go through life for quite a bit, cheating, sleep, and their body can kind of keep score and maybe their threshold is higher than mine for that. And then there is one who's already hit their mark and the body is saying, hello, I am done. You're cheating too much. I need you to fix it. So I see like as if you have 3 levels of people that your work can help. How accurate is that?
I would say so. And even that second level of person who is, cheating, and not realizing that their body's keeping the score, their body might be sending them signals. So they may be experiencing health issues. They're just not realizing that their lack of sleep is playing a role in that.
So they might be less productive and then they are looking for productivity hacks. So they might be studying about efficiency, but really the problem is the sleep and not the lack of strategy or hacks to do more or whatever. Wow. Wow. Okay, so first of all, if you know someone like that you definitely know could use more sleep, more education about sleep, this is the time to hit share and send them this so you can sit together and kind of enjoy this conversation, because Jennifer is like the sleep master, if I can say that. I'd like to dive into your story and kind of bring the listener along of how you came to the realization that sleep is that of an investment that we need to pay, because it's not common knowledge. We don't all think like that. How did you get here?
Yeah. So I have to say that life is great these days as an entrepreneur and building this fantastic business. I have a lot of time freedom, freedom to work with who I want, schedule my work around my kids' games and such. And I'm truly helping people. But it wasn't always like this. So 17 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, Sjögren syndrome. And I had no idea what was going on with me at the time. My whole head felt like it was going to shrivel up. It felt so dry. My eyes felt like someone was rubbing them with sandpaper. I had to take a sip of water or liquid after almost every bite of food, or the food would get stuck at the top of my throat. So it was a huge relief when I got this diagnosis to understand what was going on. But that was followed up with, this is chronic and incurable disease. And by the way, you're going to have to take these medications for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And that was not okay. In that moment, I felt broken. What I was thinking, why me? What the heck did I do? I have 2 toddlers at home, full-time job. I don't have time to deal with this. And I didn't have time for the self-pity. So I decided, all right, I'm just going to take the medication and keep going. So I adapted, managed, definitely wasn't thriving. And then fast forward to January of 2020, and I realized that there was something I could do about it. And that's when I started studying to become a health coach. And in fact, a few months after that, I had to start putting into practice what I was learning. A silly kitchen mishap. I cut my finger with a knife. Turns out to be not so silly because I'm already compromised, gets infected, requires 2 rounds of antibiotics.
Wow.
And shortly after that, I start developing all these symptoms, really uncomfortable body rashes. I mean, my armpits were so irritated. I couldn't wear deodorant, even non-toxic deodorant, for weeks. But I knew that the traditional medical system wasn't going to be able to help me. I didn't want more antibiotics. I didn't want topical steroids. I was going to have to figure this out on my own. So I had a hunch about what was going on, did some research, and decided to make some drastic changes to my diet primarily and lifestyle, cut out a bunch of stuff. And within weeks, the rashes started to disappear, gone. I had even consistent energy throughout the day. I was feeling great. But when I looked around at other people who were making similar changes, but weren't necessarily getting the same results, I realized that the missing piece of the puzzle for them that I already had in place was sleep. You can be the cleanest eater on the planet. You can do 7 HIIT workouts a week. You can alternate from sauna, cold plunge all day long. If you are not sleeping, you cannot thrive in health. So I'm on a mission to put people to sleep.
Wow. I wonder what was the wake up moment? When did you decide you were done adapting, managing, and you just wanted to get this by the horns and fix it? What was that turning moment when you said enough is enough?
It really was when I started studying to become a health coach, because I was fortunate in that my my symptoms of my disease were always manageable with the medication. So they weren't they weren't too bad. I could deal with them fairly easily. And even over that span of 13 years or so, my disease hadn't progressed drastically. But when I started studying to become a health coach, that's when I realized that there are alternatives to traditional medicine and pharmaceuticals. And there are other ways that we can take care of ourselves. And that's when it clicked that, hey, even for me, and I'm still working on it. But a lot of it starts with just simple lifestyle changes. Simple. They not always easy to do, but a lot of the times it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I'm there with you, because when I go to sleep, my phone is the farthest place it can be. Seems simple. Most people can't do that. Like when I'm in bed, that's it. The phone is either in the living room or just away. Like I don't want to be looking at the screen or having lights around. I just want to sleep. Sleep, no internet, nothing, no sounds, no nothing. And I find that really gives me a very fresh start or chance every day. And when I look around, when I go back home, everyone is in bed in their blankets, scrolling on their phone. And I'm like, okay, people are sleeping. Like if I go in a place like home, for example, when I go back home, your sleeping is in the middle of the night and somebody's waking up, talking on the phone. I'm like, really? That's real? Really? You know, I can't do people cough. Like I can't wait to just leave this place, because everyone is on the phone 24/7, on the television, news, phone. When do we ever sleep? Like when do the gadgets go off, you know? And so when you say the simple, no easy, I totally get it. Totally.
Yeah.
Take me to the place where, if say I come to you, I have clients are driving me nuts. I don't know where the day goes. It's like the day has stopped being 24 hours and it's reduced to 6. And every day I ask the question, where did my day go? And then I wake up, I don't even sleep enough. I feel like there is not enough time in my day to do anything. Take me from how you look at me coming in to me getting to optimum health or to the level I want, which is to be more productive and more focused, if it makes sense. I came in and I was saying, I just know I'm not sleeping enough and I don't know what to do about it because I have all these things that need to be done every day and I have to do them. So walk me through that awareness of what I need to understand moving forward to kind of beat this sleep problem.
So knowing that everybody's struggles with sleep are individual. So what's keeping one person awake is not necessarily what's keeping another person awake. There are still foundational aspects that we can all address to help with our sleep. So when I first meet with somebody, I have an extensive kind of sleep history or intake form, ask a ton of questions about their habits and health and such. But oftentimes it leads back to these three basic areas, and those are our sleep environment. So the actual physical space in which we sleep, our sleep routine, not just what you're doing in that 1 or 2 hours leading up to bedtime, but throughout the day, and our sleep story. So what's going on up here in our heads that's getting in the way?
Would you like to go a little bit deeper in those three and kind of shed more light on sleep environment, routine, or
Sure.
like kind of the best practice for the three?
So I think that the sleep environment is the easiest of the three to address because for the most part, it's making changes within your environment once, and then you should be all set. But here are some things to keep in mind. Ideally, we want our space to be as dark as possible, pitch black. So we want to get rid of all those sneaky light sources, whether that's light coming in from outside, or if you have little gadgets, a cable box in your room, any type of technology. If you do happen to have a clock next to your bed, make sure it's kind of, if it's a digital clock, amber, red light as opposed to blue, or turn it away from you. I know during the winter, we'll have a humidifier in the room, so I have to position it in such a way that the light is not bothering me, or you can just stick a piece of tape over it to make sure that light is black. Because not only we have light receptors, it's not just our eyes, our skin actually has light receptors. So even if you're wearing an eye mask, which can be very helpful, you can still be impacted by light sources. They've done some research in which they had folks sleeping in a pitch black setting, and then they shown a little tiny light on their big toe, and they were measuring their melatonin production throughout the night, and it disrupted their melatonin production.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, and the caveat here is if you do have to get up at some point during the night, maybe to use the restroom, whatever, obviously I don't want you walking into walls. I want everyone to be safe. So in that instance, you could either have some type of night light, like a red night light. They sell little flashlights that are red light that you could use. Don't start flipping on all the lights when you go into the bathroom, like the hallway light in the bed, because then that's going to make you feel alert and wake you up. And we don't want that. We want to try to keep the lighting as dim as possible.
Wow.
So that's in terms of light.
That's interesting because for me, I think it's on the subconscious level. I do not like lights when I sleep. In fact, because my husband likes lights, so what I did is I just disabled the light in the bedroom. And I say, when are we buying more light? I'm like, never. Like, why? I'm like, I don't want light. But I didn't know that was the problem. Wow. Like for me, subconsciously, light just disturbs me. Like I don't know how to sleep with light on. And my body screams at 100, put the light off. And so it's nice for me to now be aware, like consciously, this is why you don't like light when you sleep, because your body, it's not helping the body.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sleep routine. Let's see that.
So sleep routine, most folks, if I ask them if they have a sleep routine and what time that starts, they might say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, half hour, an hour before they're ready to go to bed. But in fact, your sleep routine actually starts right when you wake up in the morning. There's a saying that I love: how well we rise is how well we rest. So what you do first thing in the morning can impact your sleep that following night.
Wow.
So if you are lying in bed, you wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone and stick your phone in your face, that is going to spike your cortisol levels, which is what we don't want. I mean, cortisol is a critical hormone and it does rise naturally in the morning, and that's what gives us that alert, awake feeling, but we want a nice gradual rise. And the best way to do that is to get outside into natural light. If you can do that within 10 minutes of waking, grab your morning drink, whatever that may be, take that outside with you. And make sure that you're leaving your glasses inside. You want naked eyes.
Oh.
And even better, if you can get outside within 60 to 90 minutes of sunrise. And so that is going to tell the body, all right, let's start producing cortisol. And it's also at the same time kind of setting the clock. So your body knows, okay, so many hours from now, we're going to start decreasing the cortisol and increasing melatonin. And we're going to start to wind down and get ready for rest.
Oh, what about when you're going to bed? So when you're waking up, it's advisable that you're mindful of how you're doing that, not grabbing a device and using natural light to get up and start your day. I can see how that's very helpful. What about the habits for going to bed? Because if for some reason I decide that I need to sleep with my phone, and for some reason I decide that I need to keep working once I'm in bed, I can guarantee myself that that next day is not going to be a good day. So I can imagine there's also bad habits to going to bed, and maybe something that could be helpful as a way to wind down. Would you like to talk to that?
So typically, I advise folks to get rid of the screens 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. There has actually been some recent research that suggests that the blue light and the light from the screens may not be hindering people's ability to fall asleep as much as we thought. And so then they thought, okay, well, maybe it's the content that people are watching on the screens, getting people amped up, or, their nervous system revved up. So they tested that out. And in fact, they found that, okay, the content is not really significantly impacting how long it takes somebody to fall asleep. What they discovered was that oftentimes what happens is called bedtime displacement. People get so engrossed with whether they're scrolling through social media or watching a show on Netflix and have to watch the next episode, that they push past their bedtime. And so getting a second wind is an actual thing. So if you blow past the time when your body is naturally sleepy and naturally wants to go to bed, then your body says, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to sleep right now. I've got to, wake myself up a little bit. And then it can take another hour or so before your body winds back down and you get that sleepy feeling again. So you really have to be mindful of when your body is naturally ready to go to sleep and to make sure that you're getting rid of the screens at that point. I still say to distance yourself from the screens 30, 60 minutes, because that research was all about people's ability to fall asleep. But what it didn't touch on was how it impacts our melatonin production and our ability to stay asleep throughout the night. So I feel like it could have an impact on that. So if you can ditch the screens. I think it's
I
better.
personally can't sleep enough when I try not to do the thing I know that works, which is leave the phone in a place where it's painful to get it. That's how I started. And I would just leave it in the living room and I would want to get it. And then I'd be like, really? Is it worth it? To walk to the living room just to get the phone? I'd be like, forget it. Now, I don't even think about it. But I think in the past, it was hard for me because I always somehow had a message I urgently had to read or reply. But now, but I imagine that it has an effect. Not know which direction. But personally, I think if I take the device with me, I can't get in my 8 hours. And that's a problem because the next day I will have a problem sobering up, if it makes sense. What is the relationship between food and sleep? I wonder, because there's foods I eat and boom, sleep comes, and foods I eat and I feel awake, and I tend to avoid foods that make me sleepy immediately after eating them. What does that have to do with anything?
Foods can definitely have an impact. And again, it's very individual for different people. So I had a client who he realized that he couldn't have fruit, so many hours before bed because of the sugar from the fruit would impact his blood sugar. So the more in tune you are with your body and how different foods affect you, the better. As a general rule, you want to have your last meal typically at least 2 hours before bedtime. And that's less about what you're eating. It's more about your body's, excuse me, still digesting. So if you're eating close to bedtime, then for the first so many hours of sleep, your body is expending all its energy on digesting that food, as opposed to the typical systems and things that your body wants to do when it's sleeping to help restore everything.
Okay.
So the caveat to that is if you're eating 2 to 3 hours before bed and you're waking up consistently every night, say 1, 2 a.m., and you think it might have to do with your blood sugar, then have a small snack closer to bedtime of some healthy fats, complex carbs, no simple processed carbs, or some protein. And that can help stabilize your blood sugar throughout the night. Because what is happening otherwise is if your blood sugar is dipping, then that your body produces adrenaline to wake yourself up, to regulate your blood sugar again. And so that's why you're waking up in the middle of the night. But if you have that small snack before bed, helps to keep your blood sugar stable throughout the night, and you won't experience that.
I think this is a question I probably need to ask as a food specialist, but like right now, if I grabbed a bottle of Coca-Cola or I don't know, something abnormally starchy, immediately after taking that, my body would just want to sleep. Not forever, but like it would want to sleep at least for an hour or two. It would force me to go to bed. Like it's like my brain shuts down. And so I just avoid those foods, but I don't know the relationship between my brain and those foods. But it's like my brain shuts down. My focus shuts down and I have to sleep. I just avoid them. Like if it's lunch hour or something, I like black out from them. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, it might be the way that your body has to process those foods and just
it's probably
focusing all the energy.
Yeah, I think it's more of a food specialist for this question, but there's foods that I know are on my red list. Like if I eat this thing, I must be prepared to kill 2 hours because I won't be able to, like my brain won't be able to cope in those 2 hours, which is crazy. But that's subject for another day. Tell me about the sleep story.
So a lot of folks will if they're having trouble falling asleep or waking up in the middle of the night and having trouble sleep, or having trouble getting back to sleep rather, it's thoughts swirling in the head, right? And we want to do whatever we can to calm those thoughts and calm our nervous system. And in particular, if you've ever thought, or if you've ever heard somebody say, oh, I can never sleep more than 6 hours a night. I've always been that way. I'm just a terrible sleeper. That's how it is. Or my body consistently wakes up 3 to 4 times during the night, every night. Nothing I can do about it. Those stories that we tell ourselves, our subconscious starts to believe those. So physiologically, our cells respond to our thoughts as though they're reality. So that's how crazy the connection is between the brain and the body. So if you keep repeating those stories in your head, then that's going to be your reality. The good news is stories can be rewritten. And so one of the ways that we can do that, in particular for sleep, is in those moments when you go to bed and you're lying in bed just before you're drifting off to sleep, you're in what's called a hypnagogic state. And it's a time, and same actually right when you wake up in the morning. And it's a time when your subconscious is kind of the most vulnerable to rewiring. So as you're drifting off to sleep, if you repeat positive first person I statements, like I am safe and comfortable in my bed, or I am a great sleeper and consistently get 8 hours of sleep a night, or my body is so well tuned, I don't wake up during the night, things like that. And you just repeat them either just in your head or out loud as you're drifting off to sleep. And that should help to kind of reframe in your subconscious.
Wow. That's interesting, because when I sleep, when I'm just in that state of wanting to sleep, but I'm just there, I kind of go, what do I want to do? What is possible? What are the things I'm excited about? What is tomorrow's biggest accomplishment? How big do I want this thing to be? So I put myself in this thing of, I did so much today. Oh my God, tomorrow. Oh my God, what about at the end of the year? How big will this thing be? And I kind of sleep to that. And usually when I wake up, there's like something that has, like, it has opened, like, yes, this is the connection, or this is, wow. I didn't
Absolutely.
know that. I didn't know
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a great point to bring up, because so especially for someone who doesn't necessarily struggle with sleep, you can use that time to, let's say there's some problem you've been trying to solve and it's just eluding you. You can't figure it out. So if you think about that issue as you're drifting off to sleep. So one of the sleep stages, our REM sleep, which we tend to think about as our dream stage of sleep. And REM sleep, we get most of that toward the second half of the night, second half of the sleep. And that is kind of responsible for our creativity and problem solving. Those are a couple of the benefits that we get from our REM sleep. Wow. So if as you're drifting off to sleep, if you're thinking about focusing on something you're trying to solve or get done, don't be surprised if you wake up in the morning with the solution.
Wow. I never thought about it, but because somehow it helped, I just kept doing it. Like, if I think through something properly in the night, if I look for answers as I sleep, somehow they show up. And so I'm just going to repeat this thing. But I never thought about it this way. So thank you, because now I really see, when I wake up, usually I'm like holding a pen and I'm like, okay, what's the answer today? I expect myself to have answers, but I never had like a consciousness to know, but where are they coming from? You know, like I just felt they just drop in my head. And sometimes I can wake up and I'll be like, oh my God, in the middle of the night, like at 4 a.m. and I have an answer and I run. These days I even like sleep with my book and I just write it down and I'll sleep again. which is crazy because,
Yeah.
wow.
But if you think about the folks who aren't getting enough sleep, that recommended 7 to 9 hours, so someone who's sleeping 4, 5, 6 hours a night, they're, in all likelihood, they could be shortchanging themselves on that REM sleep. So in getting that creativity, that problem solving, right? They're
That level of
really,
clarity where you're not,
yeah.
oh my God, even if I just did that thing tomorrow, one thing like this, it's enough. And you just have this focus on this one thing. And because you know how, wow, wow, wow. Wow, that's really good. What else did we miss there that you would like to add when it comes to the sleep, how the sleep stages? What would you like to kind of
So
there?
yeah, so each of the sleep stages has different benefits. And so our slow wave deep sleep, which we get the majority of that in the first half of the night, that helps us to really process information we've taken in during the day. And so our short-term memory, so as you learn something during the day, it's stored in a certain part of the brain for short-term memory. And then when you're sleeping, it's transferred to another part of the brain where it stores it, which allows you to be able to access that information at a later date. If you're not getting the proper sleep and it's not processing that information you've taken in during the day, then it's gonna disappear. Right? So if you think about students who pull all-nighters to study for an exam, say, maybe the next day, maybe they'll be able to recall the information, but forget about it in, weeks, months down the road. That information is not going to be there anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really important. And if you think about as an entrepreneur or a business owner, and if you're not getting that proper sleep and you're not able to process all of the information that you need to process from the day before to run your business efficiently and productively. And then, like we said, if you're not getting the REM sleep and you're not getting that creativity and problem solving boost. And I mean, I guess it's more of think about how it could be as opposed to, okay, things are fine now. I get 6 hours of sleep and I'm fine. Well, think about how things could be if you were getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Is that the 7 to 9? Is that the best practice, or could it vary based on people, or is it like generally 7 to 9 is good? Because I'm at 8, but I just thought, okay, it's 8. I didn't ever think of that bracket. I guess if I was sleeping okay at 6, I would have stuck at 6. The reason I'm at 7 is because I just felt like my body after 7 hours doesn't want to stay in bed and it wants me to get up. But I didn't know that was like the 7 to 9 was there. So is that kind of the best practice recommended, or what's your truth around the 7 to 9?
Yes, that is the recommended amount of time. So if you're sleeping consistently less than 7 hours a night, then it's considered sleep deprivation. Or short sleeping. Some people, maybe because of certain health concerns, people with autoimmunity, some people may actually need a little bit more than 9. But in general, getting between 7 to 9 is the sweet spot.
I saw on your website where you had a very nice connection between health, energy, and mental focus. Do you want to kind of talk through that? Because I feel like, wow, that's really clear. That really helps me understand sleep in another angle. You had the way you talked about eating clean and not sleeping, and then you had what then happens with energy, and then how that connects to mental focus. I'd love for you to speak through that, if you don't mind.
Sure. And we've touched on it a little bit already. If you think about sleep as really the foundation of health, and I don't know about you, but for me, once I start one healthy habit, it kind of motivates me in other areas too. So if I decide that, okay, I'm really going to dedicate myself to getting the exercise that I need, that I haven't been doing, and then suddenly that makes me feel like, okay, now I want to eat better. I want to eat healthier, right? And then it's kind of the snowball effect. So if you start with sleep as that foundation and make sure that you're getting the recommended amount of sleep, that ultimately you'll feel better on a daily basis, right? And hopefully that can help motivate you to eat better. And we can talk about how lack of sleep can impact the way that you eat and weight loss and such, but help you eat better, feel better. So you want to exercise. Plus, if you're working more efficiently and productively, you have that time to exercise, right? So it's this whole snowball effect, which can help your energy.
I love it. For me, I think it's more of an alarm clock. I have like an internal thermostat. Because like I can decide, okay, it's holiday time, I'm doing the hotels, I'm doing all the food, I'm doing all the flights, and healthy eating, you're on the bench. And I can decide consciously that, okay, I'm going to eat whatever, because I don't want to be in so much trouble. And so I can decide that. My body looks at me and says, really? And in that just 1 month, it can give me a pile of like weight. And I go, whoa, wait, what? I can look at myself in the mirror and go, no, this is not the size. This is not my weight. And so for me, I think it's more of I have an internal thermostat to that. The food I eat, whether I take the stairs, there's just like an internal thermostat that makes the choice. No, that's not your weight. You're going to drop that weight. And subconsciously, I start to pick the right things again. Or, no, that's not how you sleep. You're going to have to sleep better. And subconsciously, I just have to pay that date or whatever. So for me, I don't know that it's more of one thing leading to the other. And I do not know that it's my will. I feel like my body literally has a thermostat that says, really, since when are you a size 40? Like, since when are you a size 40? Like, no, that's not you. And then I'll just snap back. And then I try to, well, really, since when do you sleep for 6 hours? Go back. Like my body just says, really? You're eating pizza? Like, since when do you eat pizza? And I go, yeah, like, since when do I eat pizza? Oh, I'll grab like a Coke and I'll put it in my mouth. And then my body will be like, really? Really? Couldn't you just make like the green tea? Like, I think I have an internal thermostat that keeps slapping me every time I go off. I don't know if it's more of, but I think maybe it's, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I think you are either curiously aware or you're not.
Right. Because all of our bodies give us signals constantly about what we're doing, if we, especially if we're doing something counterproductive. But most people just aren't in tune to those signals. Right. So they're not connecting the dots the way that you're able to, and to realize that, okay, I feel like this either because of something I ate, or, I didn't sleep enough, or,
it's the ability
it's
to
just
connect the
it just
dots.
doesn't register.
Yeah, it doesn't register. Because for me, when I eat like bad butter, bad oil, my skin pours and I'm like, wow, what happened? And I'm like, yeah, I ate that thing. I'm like, geez, okay.
Wow. Yeah. But in terms of weight, for people who are not sleeping enough, our bodies will not release fat
Mm.
if we're not sleeping properly.
Mm.
And it compounds by also we start to crave starchy, sugary foods.
Mm.
So you eat additional calories during the day
Mm.
because because our hormones that regulate our appetite get all screwed up. So there's a hormone ghrelin that makes us feel hungry, and that shoots up. So we feel more hungry more often. And then the hormone leptin that gives us that feeling of being full or satiety, that drops. And so we don't feel full. So we eat a ton more calories than normal, and our body's not releasing fat. So it's just a recipe for gaining weight or being unable to lose weight. And if you do happen to lose weight while you're not sleeping properly, in all likelihood, it's lean muscle mass.
Wow. Interesting. What else do you have out there that people can begin to chew on, whether that's like a free resource or a paid program or coaching? Walk me through the resources that are available for someone who says, wow, I want to learn more, want to dive into this thing. Someone who kind of got an aha moment right now and said, wow, I really want to get aware, educated about sleep and how I could be tapping into this for mental focus and productivity. What do you have available for them?
So they can head to my website, which is jenniferevewellness.com. And right on the homepage, they can grab a free gift. It's kind of a sleep quiz that folks can fill out. And it touches on current sleep habits, stress, and actually exposure to light. We talked about the importance of getting that exposure to the natural sunlight and minimizing blue light and such. So it touches on these 3 areas, and what it does is zeroes in on the things that people can change that will make the quickest impact on their sleep. So just picking out 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 areas to make some changes, the low-hanging fruit. So the easiest changes they can make that will have the biggest impact. And then there's information there also if they then want to follow up, and I'm always happy to chat with folks.
I feel like there's a lot of ignorance around sleep and how important sleep is in achieving the things we're trying to achieve. And we all go for I want to go to the gym and lose weight. I want to get on the carb. I want to buy this tool to manage my time better. I want to, I don't know, play this music or whatever to fine tune my focus, But sometimes it's just you need to sleep more, which then allows you to do more per second, which then allows you to do, because if you are thinking, how do I get more in the day? How do I get focused so I can produce more? Sleeping more is the last thing that looks like it's going to help. And so I feel like this is more of an awareness problem.
Yeah. All those other things become easier.
When we first met, on your website, you had said, when you have problems in whatever way, and am I still coming through or am I frozen? When we first met, on your website, when I read, it was more like, when you have a problem, what is the first thing you sacrifice? Sleep. When you're not productive, what's the first thing you sacrifice? Sleep. When you're not getting most of that, what is the first immediate thing that gets in the dustbin? Sleep. I want you to talk to that, because I was laughing and looking at your copy and going, wow, isn't it so true how we can get sleep and just put it in the back burner? Yet it is the thing that we need in that moment to solve that problem. Would you like to talk to that? I felt like that was very funny, but really true.
Yeah. And that's the message I'm trying to get out. That is the narrative that I'm trying to change, is that is not the currency you want to trade with. Sleep is an investment. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it is an investment in your business, in your relationships, in your mental health, and your physical health. And by the way, it's free.
Wow. It's the only thing that you're not paying for, yet the first thing you're going to put under the rug and go pay thousands of dollars to other experts to solve the same problem that you can solve for free. Wow. Isn't it crazy? What would be your last words to the human being going, really? This sounds too good to be true. You mean I get to solve all my problems with just snoozing?
Yeah,
What would be
I
your
would
last
say,
words
I would say, don't take my word for it. Try it. And if it's something that you really struggle with, getting those at least 7 hours, the two things I would suggest to try to help right the ship the quickest is getting that natural sunlight in the morning consistently. Try doing that every day, 2 weeks. And the other is maintaining a consistent bedtime and wake time. Sleep consistency. If you pair those two things for the next 2 to 3 weeks, you will absolutely feel a positive shift in your sleep.
I love it. And I would add, if you could try and, as you sleep, talk through some questions you have, some answers you're looking for, some things you're looking to achieve, and task your brain to get you those answers, because your brain will do, I think, whatever you ask it. So personally, I've found that asking myself questions, trying to think through something I'm trying to solve, trying to envision the things I want to happen, has helped always in the morning. It's like I wake up with downloads, but I didn't know that it was the way I slept that guided that. I thought it was because I slept enough and obeyed my body that it's now rewarding me. Rather, it is what I plant in my head before I sleep. Oh, I feel like this has been more than sleep. I didn't know that I would have such a depth of conversation around sleep. So thank you. Thank you for coming through today. Show. I really feel this will help people.
Oh, you're welcome. I really, really hope it does help people.
And to you who is listening in, the biggest and grandest thing you can do on this show is share this episode with one person who could use more sleep. Don't we all need more sleep? Share it with one person that you want to sleep better, that you want to start appreciating sleep. If I knew all this coming in, I would never debate with my body if I should sleep or not. The problem is sometimes I would tell my body, I have to do this, and to be like, really, you should sleep again. And I'm like, yeah, but like I really need to do this thing. And it would be like, well, good luck. And then I would get on it and I would take 5 hours to focus. And I feel like, oh, why didn't I just sleep? And sometimes I would just leave the desk and just go back and pay the sleep. And it would just, at some point, feel like, yeah, now you can wake up. So if I knew these things coming into the sleep game, I would have really used sleep much better. I feel like I'm going to be a better sleeper going on. And I'm going to give myself more permission to sleep in and all of those things. So the biggest thing you can do is help someone get better sleep, especially people who are already struggling from, not sleeping. It recently occurred to me that the purpose of this podcast was not necessarily to bring the experts on to share their message or guide them through it. It was for someone who had said yes, but didn't have the how. So for example, if there was someone that just was like, okay, I want to sleep better, but I don't know how. I don't seem to get the sleep. I seem to turn around all night. I seem to get nightmares, whatever. So if somebody was a place where they're like, okay, finally I know what the problem is, sleep. I need to sleep more. And they were like, how? I don't know how to do that. This podcast was created for that how. Like someone says, I feel called to more. I feel like I need to leave my job, or I feel like I need to do something more than I'm doing right now. I feel I'm being called to serve people, to build a business, to impact lives. But they're like, how? So the person who is in that space of how, looking for answers, scanning for answers, this podcast is for them. Because every expert that comes here holds the how in their palm. You just have the clarity of the thing you're called to do. You just have to say yes and let the how unfold with these experts. So it beautifully came up together recently, and I can't just wait to change the intros and the outros to match that, because I feel like that's more like it. That's more like the calling I have on my heart. I just didn't see these two pieces coming. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, because in I think it was in 2018, I got this message from one church. It's a church for, I don't know, Pastor Ture Roberts. And he said, God is going to use you as a vessel to break generational curses. And I was like, what? You must be kidding me. And I brushed that thing under the rug. I said, no, I'm sure it's for another person. And I'm just an online follower. And he even said, you're online, you're watching now. And I'm like, yeah, there's probably going to be hundreds others. And then one day I listened to his wife, and she says the same. You're called to break generational curses. And I'm like, not again. And she says, you're online, you're watching. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. So I ignore them. I listen to now, one time I'm listening to TD Jakes, who's the father of Sarah. And he says the same. And I'm like, okay, now I feel haunted properly. I am very scared. I do not know how and where. And so I get in this whole thing of break generational curses. Me, Prima. How? Like, God, you must be out of your freaking mind. How? And I go and dodge. And I had this successful business online. I was making 6 figures per year. And what God did, it took away, like he took away every customer and made that a business which was making like $100,000 a month to nothing. Everyone left. That's how I started this work. In 2024, I had no choice but to start this and to listen to that small voice that said, you're called to break generational curses, even though you don't know the how. That's how I started this podcast. And now to see that there is people out there with a calling on their heart, there's a going, God, how? And there is every expert coming here saying, here is the how. And there's people breaking trauma patterns, rewiring people, helping people shift minds, break patterns of illness. I'm like, seriously, God? Really? Like, seriously? So the biggest thing that you can do as a listener to support this work is to just share this message with one human being that you know needs to meet this expert. That's the calling on my heart. So one person today that needs to sleep better, that needs to focus more, that needs to be more productive, and they could use some sleep education. That's the role for today. If we do that, this channel will grow and we don't have to do anything else. Of course, you can subscribe, you can rate, you can review, you can follow, you can do all those things. But the biggest way you can contribute is to share this expert's message with just one person, who we hope shares it with one person. And that's kind of how it's going to move. And that's how we're going to break these generational curses. That's at least what I receive in my clarity at the moment. So I want to appreciate you for tagging along, for being part of the mission, and for allowing me to answer the calling on my life and do this work. I hope this has been helpful. And I'll talk to you very soon with yet another expert unfolding another how of how to say yes, that calling on you. Have a great day. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.